Hey, well, hello, everybody. RG3 here. Welcome to Chatting with the Captain. I got a new intro, but I wanted to give a little bit of an intro to the intro before I play it. Wild SJ, who appears on our show in our chat rooms and amongst us all often and does her own stream, by the way. So if you go into YouTube and look for Wild SJ, you will see her stream. And she just streams about her adventures across the country, her eating habits, her living habits, and her bus, and all the cool stuff that she's learned about crypto and longevity, female fertility, you name it. She gets into all that cool stuff. And she works very, very hard, and she cares so deeply for this community. And I just wanted to publicly thank her for everything that she's doing here for the channel lately. She's basically taken on the role of the producer here and has been helping out immensely. And I'm very proud of the work that she just did. She made us a new intro. So I'm going to get off of here and I'm going to play you guys SJ's new intro. So thanks for showing up. Hold on a second. Let me get myself off of here. Why is HEX better than Bitcoin? Well, first of all, it's the fundamentals of the code. The fundamentals of code are better than Bitcoin's fundamentals. The inflation model is better than Bitcoin's inflation model. The staking feature is better than a mining feature. It's new tech versus old tech. It's decentralized versus centralized. Yes, all of those things. HEX is better. Damn right it is. HEX is better than Bitcoin. HEX is better than Bitcoin. Did I say it? Did I tell you guys that HEX is better than Bitcoin? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let's see. I had to turn my volumes to. We're gonna have to maybe work on the volume a little bit. It sounded like my voice was a little low, and at the end I freaking blast you. Maybe she did that on purpose. I don't know, but that was from a Wild SJ. She did a great job. Thank you for my new intro. I appreciate it. Well, hello chat room. Welcome to Chatting with the Captain. I am in a very strange mood today. I've been doing a lot of contemplating. We're coming up on the end of the season here for the Pulse Chain Tour. It's been a heck of a ride, working with SJ and with Black Hexican on this tour and putting it together for all of you and talking to you and your people and meeting and greeting and the new relationships that we've built with different Hexicans across the country and what that's doing for our ecosystem, for our team here and what we're doing. It's really been inspiring, motivating, eye-opening, and exciting because we did this all in the bear market when everything's been down, when everybody's been full of FUD, when everybody's been, casting a shadow on crypto itself and the HEX ecosystem. And, but we've never wavered. I've never wavered, and I don't let anybody on my team waver because we know that the fundamentals of the code are still there, that HEX is still better than Bitcoin. It always has been. And that doesn't change whether price go down or not. That's market sentiment. Market sentiment has absolutely nothing to do with the code. Wait a minute, RG. Price should have everything to do with the product, right? That's not true. It's definitely not true in the stock market or any of these speculative assets. It's all about who buys and holds and who doesn't sell. And we've seen a lot of FUD lately coming from our own community. I'm a little discouraged. Some of the stuff I've been seeing coming out of the community. The unnecessary digging into things that are creating concern, FUD. Look, there's going to be whales that sell into these marketplaces from now until eternity. That's how it works. And there's going to be whales that buy. And there's going to be big groups of people that get upset about the direction which the price is going, and they're going to get out. And then there's going to be big groups of people that get in, and the price is going to fluctuate up and down like it always does. Look at every chart. Every chart has fucking spikes up and spikes down. Period. End of story. That's all you really need to know about charting, is that it goes up and down. But the one thing that we do know about charts and history, and when we take a macroeconomic look at things, that those things that are good, those things that do stand the test of time, always start down here and end up here. Look at the NASDAQ. Look at the S&P 500. Look at any of it. All these markets end up from bottom up to the top. And there are the spikes and wiggles in between, which are market sentiment, human emotions, and market cycles. It's just what it is. The thing is not to get caught in the middle of that, not to get caught in the middle of those up and down spikes, because your emotions and your best thinking is what's going to get you wrecked. Guarantee it. That's how it always happens. That's where people get wrecked. And if you don't look at that and you do the right things, which is hold for the long term and prepare for a rainy day or prepare for an eventual market exit. If you do that and you put that out in the future and you use fundamental investment strategies like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger use, then you will win the game. Those of you who think you're going to play the game and fake out the game or try and beat it are more than likely people that are going to get wrecked. So with all that being said, do yourselves a favor. Understand what the fundamentals are of this ecosystem. Understand what HEX is and what that means to you and your investment strategy, and follow through accordingly. Because if you play this game and chase all these shiny objects and all this other stuff, you're not going to end up where the rest of us are going to end up. And you're not going to find retirement. You're not going to find your golden goose. You're not going to find the thing that you're looking for, because it's just like being a drug addict. You're going to be chasing the dragon, baby. Chasing the dragon, trying to make yourself high, and you won't find it. You'll never find it. You never get to the end. All right. Anyway, all that said, guys, thanks for coming. I'm going to bring these fellas up now, and they are called the Degen Roundtable. Now they come from a community that was birthed from my good partner and my good friend, the guy that started Discourse Syndicate with me, DCC, and his group of people that sat in his classes and whatnot. So these guys got together and started helping people as things grew to a massive size over there. They put the Degen Roundtable together, and they were just a consortium of guys that wanted to help the community and take the teachings of what Dollar Cost and Charlie did and help the community to answer questions and move forward, since it got so big that those two guys just couldn't handle the volume. And so from that, they jumped into the community and they started doing stream. I got to go do an interview with them. So I'm gonna bring all these guys up. And this isn't all of them. There's a couple more, I think. This is Will Stevenson. What's happening, Will?
Hello. Doing good, bro.
We got Tracker, remaining anonymous. And
appreciate it, Captain. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. And the newest member of the clan, Zenith.
Captain on deck. Glad to be here. Thank you.
What's happening? Well, welcome to stream, guys. Appreciate you guys coming. This is new. I usually have like one guest, so now I got three. So now we got all kinds of stuff that we can bounce around and talk about. But I shared a little bit of your history with everybody just to kind of let them know, Degen Roundtable probably scares the hell out of a lot of people here, especially my Maxi buddies. They're like, wait, what are you doing, RG? Who's the Degen guys you got on here? What are you going to do? You're going to talk about shit coins and rug pull projects and stuff. But no, I want to let everybody know who you guys are, where you come from. Who wants to take it away and start and kind of take off from where I started?
Tracker, why don't you go first, bro?
All right, sure, I'll take it. Yeah, so appreciate that, Cap. First of all, thanks for having us on. This is fantastic. I've been following you probably since at least 2020, man. So it's been really fun watching you and doing on interviews. And that intro just showed off all the players you've been interviewing and talking to. I mean, you're right smack middle, man. I mean, you're like the ambassador with Richard Hart. So appreciate it.
Well,
Appreciate having us on, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, so we were working with DCC and Charlie. A lot of us were in the chat that they had. It's a great chat, and I think like I said, in the green room, I think they do a great job. They put out amazing content. They're always on the ball, but man, they got so much on their plate that when Pulse Chain launched, they had one of the channel. Had a paid subscription going, and there was a lot of people asking questions, and they weren't just wasn't like I said, not bad mouthing anybody here. It was just basically there was so much stuff going on. Perfect storm, Pulse Chain launches. People are looking for help, and we were in there helping people, guiding them through because there was a lot of guys, deer in the headlights, man. Pulse Chain launch. You have a lot of guys that are noobs that do no idea what they're doing. I mean, it was like they're talking about basic arithmetic. We're talking calculus right now when Pulse Chain launched. So I felt really bad for a lot of those guys. So we were trying to help them out as much as we could. And then I guess it just kind of sparked that idea saying, hey, let's start doing our own thing and let's just start, helping others in that manner. My particular way that I contribute to the team, I come with a background in computer programming, so I understand that. I'm my job, I basically have to take a lot of complexity and try to simplify it so people can understand. So I try to help out there. I'm kind of all over the place trying to help just direct people with all the landmines around the area, because it's crypto is really that meme with that one person in that outfit running through the landmines and they're just blowing up left and right around you, and that basically sums up the crypto world, especially in this last 2 years. It's been one hell of a journey in these last 2 years. So that's just a little bit I'll give you on ourselves, but I'll let the other guys talk now.
Zenith, why don't you go next, bro?
Yeah, everyone knows Pulse Chain launch was kind of a wild time. We were definitely all in the CMC group chat at the time, and people were just trying to get things off the ground initially before we even had the bridge. There was people that were just sending addresses and sending some Pulse Chain to everybody to get them that first gas fee so they could start converting some Hex to Pulse and just get everything going. But yeah, we've been doing that for a while. Newest edition, I ran into these guys when I tracked them down at the Crypto Mindset meetup, and I found Will shirtless in a hot tub. So
Oh man, you giving me a quite the intro there. So my job in the community is I kind of do a lot of the networking, and I go around and I meet people all over the place. I find developers, I find dudes to interview, I find cool people, and I bring them onto the show, and we interview them and stuff. Along with Jeff. Jeff's another great person. So Tracker actually earlier on, he was being a little bit humble. Tracker did this fantastic deep dive. So far, I think the best work on the channel that we've done is the crazy deep dive into the liquid loans program that's coming out for the Richard Hart ecosystem. So Tracker, Nate, Jeff, and Walrus, they all did a phenomenal stream on the liquid loans protocol and how to use that when it comes out. And I think that's probably like the cream of the crop of our channel so far. But Tracker didn't mention it, but that's definitely like his work. So when he says he does the deep dives and he does the computer side of the analysis and stuff like that, that is his bread and butter, and it's fucking phenomenal. That's kind of sort of what we do, Captain. That's what we do over there at the Degen Roundtable.
I guess I forgot to mention it when I was going through my spiel, but the thing that I do over here is I run the book club. This is my offering since I'm the newest guy on the team. I created an initiative, and every 2 weeks we try to cover a new book that's related to personal investment, finance, cryptocurrency, or something all in between, and try to talk with the community and see how we can relate it to our journeys and what's going on. This week we're actually doing reminiscences of a stock operator, and we're looking forward to it. It's a fun little story about a guy in the early 1900s. Guy went like super rich and super broke multiple times. And it was actually a recommendation from our mentors, Charlie at Cultivate Crypto.
Sounds like a trader.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, when I think about, the act of trading, I look at it as, to me, I've always looked at it as gambling. I've always looked at it as, something that, it's speculation. It's rolling the dice. It's something going to go up or down. It's gamifying, investing. So I've always been very careful myself. Now, have I done it? Of course. I've thrown some dice on the craps table too, you know? So I've degened. I've degened within the last week here, you know, but I always like to keep it in perspective. I want to see how you guys feel about that. So here's, you know, when you're speaking to a community this large and this captive, you know, they see those of us who have become successful in the crypto space, which, you know, isn't an easy task. A lot of people, like you said, get rich and get poor, get rich and get poor. They come out and they run hard and then they disappear because they went broke or whatever. So what I found with Hex finally was that there was no more need to try and play the trade game in order to make it in crypto. I was waiting for that one tool to come out that was going to give all of us the opportunity to participate in decentralized finance in crypto. You know, and when Bitcoin came out, you either hodled or you traded or you mined, and all those things I found to not be lucrative, to not be conducive to a good investment. The little guy couldn't make it mining. You know, I've seen some of the best. For instance, you know, we've got some people in this community that were mining Bitcoin back in the day, and they ended up going broke doing that. You know, they may have made a few bucks and been able to put some shekels away and get back invested and get into Hex. But a lot of people just, you know, never made it in the mining. I've watched my friends do that. So when I saw Hex, it gave us all the opportunity to participate in the system, to participating in the mining system, to participating in a inflationary tool that in the world, nothing else in the world operates like. So I thought that this was the thing that we needed to push. This was the thing that we need to get people involved in. This is the thing that we needed to use to save people from their own selves in crypto. Because, you know, what have we seen other than people just getting destroyed out there? So what's your guys' opinion on that? Is that what you guys see? Is that why you guys came over to this ecosystem or what?
Absolutely. This is honestly one of the reasons that I got into cryptocurrency myself. Is I've been trying to do personal investment for a long time. I wasn't happy with what I was seeing with my stock portfolio. And this is back in probably like very top or beginning of 2022. That's when the market topped out then. I tried learning how to do new skills. I started trading options. And then I realized that I was doing all this work to effectively just break even. And then that's when I was looking at all the cryptocurrency stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is a volatile market for sure. However, if you know what you're doing and you can remove the emotions out of it and you just stick to a plan, the gains are there. And it's the best gains that you're going to find anywhere. Particularly with the ratio, with trading, one thing that I think a lot of us fell prey to initially when the Pulse chain launch even happened was ratio trading. I tried doing it a little bit myself. And then afterwards, I even ran a simulation and crunched the numbers. And just due to some factors that are just naturally going to be against you, it's very hard to win because you trade too much, you're going to affect price too much. Trade too small, you're going to get devoured by gas fees. And then also at the same time, if you're managing risk properly, you're not going to be trading 100% of your bag, which means that you're only going to be making profits on a very small portion. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of risk, it's a lot of effort, and it's just a lot of, mainly it's just risk. And like you were saying, you don't know which way the chart's going. Granted, we try to do fundamental analysis over here and look at the charts and try to see what's going on. But really, outside of the 4-year cycle, I don't know what we can predict.
You're right. I mean, the 4-year cycle is really like the chart everybody should be looking at. Like, okay, time to hibernate for the winter, but hey, the 4-year cycle comes around, time to wake up and look at your bags and figure out whether you're dollar costing in at the bottom or if you're getting ready to make some type of an exit this season. You know, that's really, I think, all that anybody should be preparing for, in my opinion.
I'll inject on some of that though. I will say this. I would say most people, there's different frequencies of trading. So are you a day trader? Are you a midterm trader? Are you a long-term trader? You know, and really when you take a step back, and I like how Zenith put in, you have to take out the human emotion. No matter what your game plan is, where are your entry points, where are your exit points, and when are you going to DCA in? When are you going to stop DCAing in? When are you going to roll profit, when are you going to start taking some profits out, when are you going to start rolling profits in, and that's just risk management. So there's a difference between, some people might call that trading. I like the HEX model because I like to diversify across. So I love the HEX. I've got 10-year stakes out every year going out for HEX and P and EHEX. Those have been going on for a while. Those are just doing their thing. But at the same time, I want to be able to capitalize when opportunities present themselves. When Pulse Chain launched, there were some great opportunities. You knew everybody was trying to chase Pulse because everybody sacked hard for Pulse X. Everybody was chasing Pulse. So you knew that was going to switch. So when it did, I was just DCing in Pulse X into Pulse and picking up Pulse, trying to get that on the cheap because you knew that was just, you knew everybody was going to ape into Pulse. So you knew that was going to happen. So they kind of telegraphed it. Then the next move was going into the LP farming on Pulse X. Jump into those high LP trades. Why? Because you're already holding those coins. You love them. Why not earn some yield while you're sitting there chilling and owning them? Then you take that in the incentive token. The incentive token was going to tank. It was going to tank because there was nothing tied to it at the time. Not to say Richard Hart ain't got some up his sleeve. I'm sure he does. But the incentive token was tanking because there was nothing there to keep it propped up. People were just rotating out. So 2 times a day, I was selling my incentive token, rotating into Pulse X, just building up my bags. And then the next trade was what Zenith was talking about. Then the next trade after that was diving into the ratio trading, where I had all the ratio tradings going on channel. I was fortunate. Yes, people could slip up, but what I was taking advantage of was people making the mistake and not taking slippage into consideration. Slippage was crushing people out there. When you had the pairs between P and E ICOSA, that was a money-making machine because you had people going in there making trades and I think that your ratio trade had to be around 200 to 300 per transaction, or you're going to have massive slippage. So somebody would come in there and do a trade on, say, 2,000 P ICOSAs into E ICOSA, and then the price would just spike on one direction. So you're just capturing those mistakes that people were making. Now, is it unfortunate for other people to do? Yes. But once again, people are going to do stupid stuff. So if people are going to do stupid stuff, I'm going to sit back there and I'm going to capitalize when they make those mistakes, unfortunately. So I was trying to do calculated risks in that manner. So what we were doing on the Degen Roundtable was we were talking amongst our community and telling each other, hey, this is volatility. If you don't feel comfortable with this, do not do it. All right. And we kept stressing that if you're going to do this, use small amounts. But here are your ratios. And we were giving the levels in there as far as what we were seeing. And on the chart, you could really draw a line across the top and the bottom. And anytime it got to the top, that was the time to switch. When it got to the bottom, switch back in. And that actually 2 to 3x some of our bags and how much coins were. The funny thing was, we were never wanting to sell any of our ICOSA or Hedron or Pulse or PulseX. We were just trying to build up our bags the whole long way. Sorry, Captain, go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
Okay, so we did that, and that worked out real well. And then just recently we got onto the 9-inch stuff that came out. Some people were talking about it. I was like, all right, I don't know. So we were all talking about this, and we saw it coming out. I'm like, okay, so if these LPs are going to be as high as they are, it's going to be a really good trade, right? So we got into it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say whether it was intentional or not, but those those APRs that came out were nowhere near what they were being presented. And I'm sorry, I'm a developer. I know amateur hour when I see it, and that was amateur hour because they had a 2-hour delay on release. I don't care who you are. When you say you're going to release something, that sucker is locked and loaded, ready to go. You're basically just opening it up to the open intranet to everybody to connect to, and that thing was not up and running. That was red flag 1. Second flag was the UIs, all the discussions going on in Telegram about excuse after excuse. And I was like, all right, this is looking shady. So we were in some of these trades early, but we identified some of the stuff. So we told everybody in our group, get the hell out now, dump this thing immediately. And pretty much all of us got out unscathed. That was a high risk. We were telling everybody at the same time, high risk, a little bit of your bag if you want to do that. We're always stressing everybody in our channel. If you got that itch and you want to trade, take a little bit, but don't, you know what I mean? Don't mortgage the house. Don't take, you know what I mean? Leave the stuff alone. If you really want to have that itch, take the itch. But at the same time, we're trying to do a calculated risk and working together as a team to try to identify those opportunities is what we do.
And that's where the problem lies, I think, is that, people think that they can make a calculated risk. And again, the human emotion part takes over and somebody throws the house in on the calculated risk. And if it goes south or they make a mistake, then they get wrecked. And that's a problem that I think we have out there is that a lot of people think, oh, okay, well, I'm going to play this game too. Because we all know it. Like I knew that we were going to see a massive, rise and then a dump. So I was going to step out, get some stables. And then when it dumped, I was going to come back in and yield farm on those high percentages. But not everybody knows or understands the market cycles. I mean, we've all seen the launch of the tokens. We know what they do when they come out. They come out the gate running, and that's when you capitalize, and then you get ready for the decline because that's coming right after. They all have the same launch cycle. They all do. You look at every chart, and every one of them does the same exact thing. And for those of us who've been around long enough, we know and understand, and we take a measured, calculated risk, and we will play the game. I understand that. It's the problem is that when we get too many of these new folks around, that they start to play these games and they get hurt. And that's, unfortunate. It is their own fault. But I try and teach and preach responsible degenning.
No, that's fair. That's fair though. And I completely agree with you there. That's why on the channel, we're telling everybody like, all right, this is a high risk play. Don't play around if you don't want to. Don't touch this one. And honestly, we don't really jump around. Some of the guys do some of the meme coins and all. I'm not a big fan of that stuff personally. Yeah. My ultimate goal was I want to build my bags, the bags that I want to hold. I don't want to sell anything. Now, at the same time, I might be DCing in more fiat in because I want to keep building my bags. But if there's opportunities that present themselves where I might be able to capitalize and get my bags built, then that's great. Like for right now, like I know, we were just talking about liquid loans. I think liquid loans is going to be a fantastic protocol. It's coming out because it's going off of the same protocol that LiquidFi did on Ethereum. And what I like about it is, and like I said, I was on there with Walrus and a couple of the guys on our channel. We were in there. We did a deep dive. I did an entire breakdown of the product, and we did a PowerPoint presentation so people could understand clearly what this was doing, what the potential risks were. And we picked out all the little details that people would not understand unless you dug through the white papers, recordings, and there's a lot of stuff to dig through, honestly. But we try to lay it out so everybody understands how this thing works. And then some of those levels, if you're going to do this, we recommend you keeping like your ICR really high so you don't get liquidated. And then that gives you a big cushion, but that'll allow you to then extract more value out of the USDL. And then you can now, put that into another strategy. And we gave all these strategies laid out there's always risk to everything. But like I said, like the protocol they're doing is I've only seen they've been in recovery mode one time in the LiquidFi, and that's the most extreme situation. And as long as you're above a certain level, you're not going to get liquidated. And then so this Wednesday, I consider them kind of a twin. You have liquid loans, which is focusing on the pulse, extracting value out of pulse. And then you have Earn protocol, which is extracted out of the PLX. And I know you talked to the Earn protocol guys about 5 months ago, something like that. So they're taking the same concept. So we're going to do a deep dive with Jesse on the Earn protocol. Once again, we're going to talk about ultimately what we're trying to do is showing you these tools that are out here to put your coins in or use them for these protocols to try to maximize and extract value. So the whole point is to build up your bags with the coins you want to hold. I don't get anything for this. I'm not getting a dime from anybody doing this. I'm researching this stuff myself. And I felt like, if I'm going to research it and do it all myself, why not go ahead and just present it with one of the people from the team to keep me honest when I'm presenting the material, so that people at least know how to use the tool responsibly. Because if you don't, you're going to get destroyed and liquidated. Because I guarantee there's going to be people going in there. They're going to be putting their stuff at 110% ICR, and they're going to get liquidated on immediately because they don't know what they're doing. So we're at least trying to help people. We're trying to help people understand that.
That's why I tell most people to stay away from these things, because they don't understand. And then they will let the emotions take place, and they will go, oh, well, you know what? I need to leverage this thing hard because it's going to pay out. It's going to work. It's going to go, I'm going to pull that handle and it's going to throw me 3 sevens. That's the problem I have with all these things. And right now at this point, they're all promises. They're just like anything on Ethereum. They're all promises right now. Nobody has launched anything. Nobody has said anything or given us anything that shows us any of these tools. So you know, I have a hard time, you know, I'm rooting for all of them to put their protocols out. I am. I want them all to give the tools to the community that they need, they want, or they desire. I don't think that anybody needs anything else other than Hex, to be completely honest. I think that crypto was supposed to be pure. It was supposed to be for the people, and the people were supposed to be able to participate in the whole thing and have responsible investing strategies and tools. And I think that that's what Hex provides. I don't think that Pulse Chain was, you know, an L1 that Richard wanted to go out and make, you know, famous, or to make the number one L1 protocol. I think that Richard made Pulse Chain to make Hex better because Hex was broken on Ethereum. I think that Pulse X isn't finished. I think Richard said, here, you want some red meat? Here, guys, have at it. It's not finished. It's not ready. And everything else out there that's coming out is, oh, we got this and we got that and we got this and we got that. And they're not doing any better. You know, let's face it. The Achilles heel of all of crypto is the exchanges, whether it's a decentralized exchange or it's a centralized exchange. That's where all the problems stem. As soon as we start having protocols and systems that take custody, or we have to show some trust in that, that's where we start to have problems. And with Hex, you don't have to do that. And so, although I do speak to and allow and you know, say okay to degenning and gambling and all that stuff, just like I would if I went to Vegas and pulled a handle, I do want people to understand that these things require knowledge, they require wisdom, they require trust, and they require an understanding of risk management. And if you don't have all of those things in place, then you need to stay away from these things. So that's kind of where I stand on it all. And I want to know what you guys are doing to help mitigate, because look, you guys have a voice in the community now. You guys are out there. You've learned. You're confident in what you're doing. So people are going to follow you. And I want to know what you guys are doing to, you know, be responsible to the community and not let people fall through the cracks and get wrecked on a regular basis. What are you guys doing?
I got to say, the one thing we're most confident in is we're confident that we're able to learn and that we know we can figure this stuff out if we put our heads to it and we work together. We might not have all the answers right away or right now even, but we know that we can figure it out. And honestly, the biggest thing that I think the channel's focused on, despite the name being the Degen Roundtable, is we're really focused on fundamentals. That's my shtick, at least. Like, the books that we've covered in book club is like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon, and now Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, which is basically like, learn what an asset is, learn to save 10%, invest in yourself, and then don't trade. Like, it's pretty simple stuff, but you just, at the end of the day, it comes back to emotion. It's take the emotion out of it. One thing that helps do that is have the gang around and everyone's trying to keep a level head. Granted, that could work the wrong way as well if you just try to get a bunch of hype men together and try to pump the next project every week. Yeah, it's going to go horribly. But if you get people together that are focused on a single specific goal in the future, which we all are, everybody on the team is focused for end of 2024, early mid 2025. Because that's going to be the top of the bull market according to the 4-year cycle. That's the best indicator we have. That's what everything is still pointing towards, and everything looks like it's still correct. So that's the goal. That's the target. And then after that, 2028, 2029. It's consistent. It's the same stuff. And whenever things do shake up and happen, we know that we have each other. We know we can figure it out. And at the end of the day, if you stick to the fundamentals and the principles, you're going to be okay. I mean, honestly, this is perfectly why Will has his tag there of peanut brain diamond hands, which is just keep it simple, stay strong.
So one thing I kind of want to touch on that I think deserves a little bit of thought experiment here is that a very large part of the way that Richard Hart in the early days built this ecosystem, built this community up was through like outrage marketing and kind of the whole reverse scamming idea. This is something that we have to think about as Hexicans, right? a lot of those things that got people into Hex in the first place, like I don't want to call it emotional manipulation, but it's essentially like preying on, or not preying on, but utilizing the primal instinct portion of our brains, right? So the things that just give us this instant reward, these dopamine hits. So when we're all talking about, having a little bit of emotional control here on the stream, something that like, if you don't pull anything else off of this particular stream, the thing that I would heavily recommend you guys figure out how to do is learn how to not necessarily control your emotions, because that's just going to be a chemical reaction and some electrical impulses happening in your brain, but learn to control your actions in spite of your emotions that you're experiencing, right? Just because you feel angry, just because you feel sad, just because you feel like crazy elated or whatever, doesn't mean you necessarily have to take action on it. When you see these green candles, don't fucking ape your bags in, right? You're going to want to ape in. When you see these red candles at the very bottom of the bear, don't sell everything. Like you have to make well-reasoned decisions based on, like what RG3 was talking about, the 4-year cycle, based on your rational and logical conviction in the projects that you're supporting. The biggest thing that I would harp on Hexicans to focus on is move yourself away from and this goes in all areas of life. Move yourself away from the emotional reactions. The only time like an emotional reaction is probably going to help you is if, like, I don't know, you find a cougar while you're walking around in the wilderness or something, you need to fight it or some shit, right? Or, you find yourself in some crazy fight or flight scenario. But other than that, like, we live in a pretty nice world. We got air conditioning and taxes and shit, right? So we can afford to take a step back, think, and come up with like a logical solution to all of our problems, and really go through all like a cost benefit analysis to each one of our actions, rather than just like, oh, this makes me feel good, I'm going to ape in, or, oh, this makes me feel bad, I'm going to, dump it and cry with my tail between my legs. So that's one of the things that we're also focusing on, to answer your question, RG3, over at the Degen Roundtable, is we want to help build people up on their fundamentals. We also want to help, like, really iron down on and strengthen people's conviction's the wrong word, but ability to stick to fundamentals, both in finances and also in like personal development and stuff.
Their
Tracker, do you
financial
got anything?
constitution, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Judgment, will of power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Zenith, add Stephen Covey's it's called The Power of Trust, I think.
The Power of Trust.
Yeah.
Power of Trust. You got it, Captain.
Yeah, that's a really good book. I think it's called The Power of Trust. I think I'm wrong, maybe. You'll see it when when it comes up. Great book. Speed of Trust. I'm sorry, The Speed of Trust. The Speed of Trust.
What's the elevator pitch?
Well, Stephen Covey, obviously, world-renowned self-help author, him and his father. The Covey Institute has been putting out stuff for a long time. But it's a book about human relations and interactions and the mathematics of trust and what it takes to build that, and what trust and the value of trust. And especially in this ecosystem, especially with those of us who are out in front of the public, that are, we always say not financial advice. Well, we're all giving crypto advice. And I'm not going to say crypto is necessarily a financial product at this point. We are all using it that way, but it hasn't hit mainstream yet. And that's what we're all working on. The reason I say to check that book out is because for those of us who are speaking into the community's lives, I don't take this lightly. I never have. And some people have said I'm too serious and I need to have some more fun and all this kind of stuff. Well, I don't, because, I'm 56 years old. I've been wrecked by the system. I traded my spine for dollars and my family's time for dollars. And luckily, I was able to get out there and learn enough to get myself out of the mess by getting into this ecosystem and figuring it out finally, and finding the right product. I want others to be able to do the same. I think that we've got our hands on something here with Hex. I think that true DeFi and the real ability for crypto to change people's lives is here. And I think those of us who have a voice need to go out there and do this the right way, because we've been doing it the wrong way for a long time. The influencers that are out there, we can't follow the same model anymore. We can't just go throwing, our pearls before swine anymore. We cannot just take this knowledge that we have of what true DeFi can do for the world and its finances and just waste it on pulling the handle and teaching people how to gamble. I think that we have an obligation here, those of us who do have a voice and those of us who do have influence on the masses out there. Because if we don't, I was ready to leave this space in 2018 during that last crash, because I'd been in so many pump and dump rooms. I'd been in so many of these things that we see out there that are showing up and rearing their ugly heads again here on Pulse Chain. On Pulse Chain, it's happening again. We're going to see it, guys. We're going to see all the old scams come back, all the old bullshit come back, all the old get as many people involved in it as possible so we can make our money and dump on their heads stuff come back. That's a problem in this space, because we're turning people away from what it is we're trying to draw people to. I'm out there traveling the country in a bear market on my dime and my family's time, once again sacrificing myself because I found a cause that's worthy. I wouldn't have been doing this if I was doing pump and dump rooms. I'm doing this because I truly believe in what we're doing, and I want to gather more troops. I want to get more like-minded people together. I want to get more intelligent guys like you guys who have figured this stuff out to say, okay, when's enough, and how are we going to go and help the masses, and how are we going to really care about the code and care about the tech? Whether there's that joke, I'm in it for the tech. Well, we really should be, right? Because that's what we've been waiting for. We all read Satoshi's white paper. We all got hooked on the Bitcoin vision at first, and then the gambling bug bit us all. And we started degening and making money and playing that game. But this is bigger than that. This is more important than that. Are you guys still in that in that camp? Were you ever in that camp, or what's your opinions on that?
Well, I tell you, I think a lot of us over here actually in the same camp as you, where we traded Uncle Sam different body parts. I know I can blame him for 5 bulging discs in my spine, so I'm right there with you. But as far as the beauty of Bitcoin, like you talked about earlier, is the decentralization. That is one of the purest parts of that specific cryptocurrency. Is the decentralization means that no single person is going to be manipulating it, changing anything. And it's that is what creates the trustless part of crypto, which is what Bitcoin did. Ethereum creates a smart contract. Obviously, it's very important. It opens up the avenue to all the exchanges and whatnot, where we do have to incorporate a little bit of trust. We have to fully dox projects and know who's creating it and whatnot. But I think we did have that golden egg, that golden goose with Bitcoin, with who is Satoshi. We don't know. We're never going to know, theoretically. I hope we never know, because that anonymity is part of what gives Bitcoin that value. One of the beautiful things about HEX is the immutable code, where you don't trade coins with somebody else. You create a contract with yourself. You don't have to trust anybody except yourself. Then again, that might be a dangerous game because you're trusting yourself not to make a foolish move, but that's a trust that I'm willing to make. And I bet 99.9% of other Hexicans do as well. So,
yeah. And, and then we go back to, and now my new intro here and my new rally call is that Hex is better than Bitcoin. And I know it shakes up a lot of people in the space, maybe not Hexicans so much, because I think we understand this. You
rally cry.
You said, that, Satoshi, we all got involved because of what we thought was going on here. Those of us who stuck to the principles of what Satoshi's vision was. But let's take a look back at the immutability of the code. The halvening wasn't in the code when Satoshi wrote it. It wasn't part of it. How did that end up happening? Is it as mutable as we think? Was there what kind of fishy business went on there? I I've been researching and trying to find out how that all came about, and I still really can't find out how it happened. I know it happened afterwards, somewhere around 2012, I think, is when it went in, was the first happening. But how did that get in the code? You know,
Good question.
so how immutable is it? And then, like you said, and Ethereum said, hey, we could program this stuff to do cool shit. So it's been a progression, you know, and then Ethereum failed because they didn't scale their network properly, and yada yada yada. And then Richard said, well, here, I'll do it, and we'll make Hex better, and we'll make a better Bitcoin by making Hex. So I've been very satisfied with that. I am rooting, like I said, you know, these other protocols that are coming out and whatnot, and the advent of Hedron and proofing the T-share and bringing us, you know, that concept. I'm appreciative of, you know. So I'm very careful about what I do sell to the community or tell to the community or advise the community to do. So I'm trying to gather like-minded folks like yourselves and just trying to see how responsible you guys are being out there. And I'm not calling you out by any means. I just want to know, you know, how do you guys feel at the core? You know, how do you feel about your actions and what you guys are doing out there? You know?
All right, I'll speak here because I definitely got a lot to talk about on this one. So
Uh-huh.
first of all, I am very, how do you put it? I'm very patriotic in this country. I got a lot of family members who served in the military their entire life, everybody around me. All right. So there's that. What I don't like is how everybody in this country has been manipulated, and you really are stuck in the matrix. And once you actually wake up and you start looking around, it's a very shocking and almost, you know, this feeling of just sickness when you start to realize it and you start to pay attention, like looking through the world through a different lens. And it's like, what the hell is going on around here? And you talk to people or family members, they look at you like you're fucking crazy. And you're trying to, so you have to, like, you got to somehow try to get them to kind of wake up a little bit, like, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And what happened here? And, oh, you really going to buy that? That's what they're selling you in the news. You're really going to believe that? I'm just going to say, it sounds a little far-fetched, but okay. But what I'm trying to get to here is, my good job, in my personal opinion, in this Degen Roundtable, is to help people understand the complexity and dumb it down for the masses to understand. I'm sorry. Is development hard? Yes, it's hard. Yes. Is testing hard? Is that stuff hard? Yes. But to understand these systems, I'm sorry. I personally feel like I can teach to about a 3-year-old this stuff if I had to. It's my job. That's what I bring to the game. I can dumb this stuff down. You know, do I consider myself up there with Wells only one? No, I do not. I think he's really good at what he does. He has his stuff. I've learned from him. He's very sharp on what he knows, and I have mad respect for him. There's other aspects so that I can dumb down. And what I'm saying, though, yes, we did the liquid loans deep dive. Yes, we're going to do the earn protocol deep dive, because we're going to strip across everything so people understand this, so they're not scared of it, but at least they understand what they're walking into, and they understand, is that something I'm willing to take on? And to add to these two protocols, they are nothing more than a smart contract. You're not on a centralized exchange. You're not doing anything. You're making a contract through a smart contract, just like Hex, no time, and you're making an agreement with that, with yourself. So I don't like anything out here where I'm on a central exchange. I don't like anything where I'm hostage to something. But I do want to understand the systems before I even touch something. I want to understand it. So going back to kind of, it's long-winded, but I really want to try to protect everybody with what's out there. Do I think meme coins are gambling? 100%. Do I think a lot of stuff's gambling? Yes, I do. I think, but if you understand what you're doing, and what our group does is we do TA, we do book analysis, we do analyzing on books. We spread knowledge around how the real world is functioning, what the governments are doing, what the mass adoptions are going to, what protocols seem to be having actually good quality products and not this just garbage that gets put out left and right. So our job now is try to navigate, like I said, it really is that character running through the landmine, trying to keep avoiding all this stuff because there's so many landmines and rugs happening around here. Like I said, I'm still heavily believing in the Hex staking process. Like I said, I'm staked out 10 years, and I've got them going all the way out till like 2032, something like that, or 2033. I've got that all going, and I have different buckets of what I'm doing. The other aspect that I try to do is people that are stuck in 401ks. You got money in there. Can you get it out? Nope, you can't. So what we try to do is at least try to tell people, hey, the closest you're going to get to doing a 401k and going in crypto is going to have to, unfortunately, be ETFs. There's no other way around it. You do not have that option right now at this second. Is ETFs. Now, what I will go down and tell you is I think Grayscale's got good products for right now.
Hey, the Hex Investment Trust isn't a bad idea either.
No, it's not. But I don't know if it's available in all the traditional 401ks, though, is the issue.
It's not. It has to be a self-directed, and it's also just a private offering at this point.
Right, which is fantastic, and I love that, because traditional money is sitting in there, yet you have all these people that are sitting with a bunch of money and they can't do anything with it. So I guess what we're trying to do is tell everybody what's out there, expose crypto and dumb it down for the masses so they can understand what's really going on, and not to be scared of it and think that it's so complex I can't understand it. You can understand it. You just got to be willing to learn and listen to people to explain it to you. Now, as far as what my underlying belief is, I'm all about DeFi. I'm all about decentralization, the whole purpose of crypto. And going back to what you said, yes, Bitcoin was created. Personally, Bitcoin was, it's like the DOS system, right? Exactly. Now you've evolved and you've gone to ETH, and we've evolved to that. Now something else is going to take over. Some are saying, and I don't know if it is or not, some are saying, Chainlink with its, communal technology that will eliminate bridges. Maybe not. Then you get into other areas, but you can see the mass adoption coming like a freight train. Okay, you can see everything's going to be tokenized. Everything's going to be tokenized. Gaming is going to be tokenized. I mean, real estate, anything that has a digital receipt that you cannot duplicate is going to be the way it is. Think of an RCR QR code. Right? Everything's going to be tokenized. Everything is. Right now, it's not sexy to the masses because this is like learning how to build the internet protocol, that nobody give a shit about. But the people who understand it can see where it's going. And unfortunately, so can the very powerful people in the world see where this is going. And that's why they're investing in it heavily right now. And that's why they're trying to flood everybody out of it so they can fit their bags packed. They've been doing this for over a decade now. So there's a lot of landmines you have to go through, but I guess ultimately what I'm trying to do is protect the masses as much as I can. Yes, I will do trades out here and I will tell people the complexity if it's risky and stuff like that. But I think everybody needs to know what's out there as far as even if it's from just a learning standpoint, just to understand how these things are working. Because then at least you can understand is it something that you're willing to take on, or something that you're willing to learn more about, or maybe something that you would flag as that's a red flag for me. I don't want to touch it, but at least you're getting the knowledge out there and you're exposing everybody out there what's in the systems. That's kind of the best way I can put it, I guess.
So I guess my question to the whole group here is, as you guys, I know you guys were kind of birthed out of necessity from a group of, I know one guy was a Hexican, which is dollar cost, and one guy was kind of a converted crypto / Hexican with Charlie. I know Charlie personally very well, and we, I know his attitude towards all of this and his attitude towards crypto. Would you say you guys are more kind of like a Charlie attitude when it comes to crypto in general, or are you guys more Hexicans? Like, hey, this is where it's at, and this is where the real value is. What's your general consensus of your group?
I'd argue it's a blend of both. We're Hexicans through and through, but we're also trying to take a look at other economic factors that come in. If you've been listening to the show recently, you would know that we've been talking about inflation, interest rates, nonstop, talking about how Americans are at the end of their savings accounts and what that's going to happen in the last bit of this year, along with student loan repayments starting back up. A lot of what we do is looking at the Hexican community a little bit, but we also try to look outside and try to infer a lot of knowledge and try to connect the dots where there's all these different events going on. Like I can tell you right now off the top of my head, tomorrow we got a CPI report. December 13th, we got a Fed meeting. And then after that, we're looking at just cruising towards the halving in April of 2024. It's similar to
election year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're now officially less than 365 days away from an election. These all factor into everything. Granted, yeah, Bitcoin and the crypto market might become decorrelated from the S&P 500 like we saw for the last few weeks. But as other times, it's highly correlated. It's trying to connect the dots. That's what we're trying to do over here. Are we Hexicans through and through? Yeah, but at the same time, if we smell bad things coming, we're not afraid to raise the red flag and let people know that the risk is going up.
I can't speak for everyone in the group, and he's right. Everyone in the group is a Hexican to some extent. I think Jeff and I are the only ones that are essentially Richard Hart maximalists in the crew, and everyone else is more or less diversified. I think Tracker had mentioned. Tracker, are you a Richard Hart maximalist, or do you diversify into other things as well?
Personally, I think Richard Hart's awesome. I mean, I'm not just blowing smoke up his ass. I think he's fantastic. I think he's everything that this environment needs. Somebody that actually is smart enough to set everybody straight and to also enlighten them on like what he's doing now with your rights. I mean, it's freaking awesome what he's doing. I mean, there's part of me who, I know I'm kind of long-winded here, but I got to get this out. And RG, I got to ask you, what's your opinion? Is Richard Hart going to show up, or is he going to actually take this thing and talk about it, or does he know it's kind of a honeypot and knows not to touch it?
Yeah, 15 days away.
Well, as far as it goes, it's a nothing burger. This whole thing with the SEC is a nothing burger. They've got no teeth. They've got no authority. This is all kind of, I just had a talk with Wales about this over the phone a couple hours ago, and it's self admission if we're even talking to these folks. My story is like this: the SEC subpoenaed me. Now the SEC is a quasi government organization that exists outside of the government, really, to bring litigation against securities violations.
Unelected officials.
And they're unelected officials, and they don't even bring criminal charges to protect the people. They bring litigation, civil suit. They're ambulance chasers of the financial world is what they really are. And when I looked at my own personal situation, when they came at me, I was very forthright with them. They made a mistake, and I went to them and corrected their mistake and gave them the information that they needed to go ahead and do their investigation properly. I didn't want to run from them. My entities didn't run from them. My entities were subpoenaed also. They laid everything out as they were supposed to. The HEX Investment Trust operates kind of under the auspices of the SEC's rules and regulations. So we had to be forthright with everything that we had. And my lawyers advised also to do so, and we did. Nothing came of it. They subpoenaed me incorrectly. I called the investigating officer, gave her the pertinent information that she needed to subpoena me correctly, and they still didn't come back at me. My guess is that the SEC is up against the ropes. They've been slapped around and made look bad by the judges and XRP in the Ripple case. They've got their backs up against the rope, and somebody made an erroneous charge against Richard Hart that when you look at the subpoena, it looks very erroneous because all of the receipts are there. The community can see the receipts. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that Richard's ready to slap the receipts down upon them. And my thought is that they're probably going to back off and not even want to go through with this because they're going to look so bad doing so after getting slapped around all that they have been. I think that they may even realize that this is a mistake and back off of it. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now is about to happen.
Okay.
I think Richard's ready. I think he's standing there with his receipts going, okay, bring it. I got him. Everybody knows this is it. So
I agree with you on that. No, I think you're spot on. I mean, he's ready to go because he's got the date on the blockchain. Everything's right there. That's the beautiful thing about crypto, which is why I don't think politicians really want to use crypto so much because it is all on the freaking, it's all trackable. But with that being said, I think there's part of me who I'd love to see Richard Hart go in there and be, I would love to see him on C-SPAN and just freaking smacking down and just putting these guys in their place as far as and just, putting them in check. But that's a platform I don't think they want to have.
I don't think they want to. And I think that's why this thing has turned into a phone call because, I think that that Richard I think that they realize that they've been played, that somebody made an erroneous claim. And try to get that 30% of the fine or whatever it is that you get for being a whistleblower or whatever have you.
Bounty.
the bounty that this freaking idiot that's part of the community filed, or he claims he filed. I don't think that they want it. I think that they turned it into a phone call, and they're trying to back off of it and get away from it, because they're going to need something bigger than what they're bringing in order to, try and bring suit. Because let's not forget that there's a bunch of precedent now. Now it may not be legal precedent as far as it's standing, but the XRP case has already looked at all of this stuff.
Yep.
And now there is precedent. And even though they may hold it in another state or in another jurisdiction to try and change that outcome, there is still case law that it has precedent that can be submitted in the case that can flip the whole thing upside down. Like, hey, you already lost it here with something that is way more centralized than Hex is. So why even try and fight that battle? So that's how I see it. I don't see much being there.
No, it's even funnier. It's even funnier because the rule is this. Okay, fine. If you're going after, if you're going to go after Pulse Chain or Hex, cool. That means you're going to have to go after Ethereum. I mean, that's what you're looking at. So I feel like all of these cases, it's really clear what's happened. They're stalling for time. They're just stalling for time. All this is just one big thing to slow everything down so that the institutions and the players that need to get their stuff in place, so that when they turn the switch on, their bags are already packed and ready to go. And then our guy Sami, I think he's nailed it around the head. I think, personally, it's going to be a honeypot. Think about it. You now get everybody in there. You got all these ETFs now out there, which is not what we want in DeFi by any means, but they're going to get it out there. All the people are going to pile in and think that they're going to see these returns like, hey, they're going to call their, financial advisor. I need to be in crypto. Why don't you have me in crypto? They're going to be screaming to get in there because they're going to see these runs starting to come. They're going to pile in here. And then once they get to a certain point, they're going to be a rug. And then you're going to have everybody claiming and screaming, we need regulation on this damn thing. And then they're going to push for regulation. And they're going to like, you're right, we should regulate this. The whole point, they're trying to push for that regulation. So I think the whole thing is just one big,
I'm going to jump in here and play devil's advocate real quick. So, Speaking of court cases, one of the most famous ones recently was the Grayscale case, where it was one of the Federal Court of Appeals in the 14th Circuit, I want to say, came out and basically looked at the SEC's ruling and determination of denying the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF, but then also at the same time having futures ETFs, multiple of them, approved. And then the court basically found that the SEC was saying whatever they wanted, even though the futures ETF and the spot ETF were virtually identical, especially with their security findings. Yet the SEC would continue to claim that they did not do enough to provide security and prevent fraud. When I look at that case, thankfully, we did get in my opinion, what is the correct opinion, which is that, yeah, the SEC is making up its own rules and applying it however the hell they want. But at the same time, that's the SEC making up their own rules and applying it however they want. That's the downside. I know everyone, especially me included, I would love for Richard Hart to show up to court and just do an absolute masterclass of just clowning on these fools and just showing them how wrong they are. However, at the same time, I think I have enough distrust in the system to know that, are these guys even going to fight fair to begin with? I'd argue no. I'd argue that it might even be a setup from the beginning. So in one case, I can understand, and I would love to see Richard just go take a big W and just put another loss on Gary Gensler's losing streak. But at the same time, this is definitely something to be careful with. And I think he's been making a lot of the correct moves, especially with anyone out there. It's like, the second you get charged with something, shut up, get a lawyer, stop talking. Done that for a good bit, but at the same time, he's dropped some real nuggets of wisdom on Twitter.
Yeah, he has. And he's going in the right direction with it. With the freedoms, with the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is really where he needs to be on all of this. Like, all of crypto needs to be speaking the Fourth Amendment. One thing that, and I'm the last guy to go down any conspiracy rabbit holes. I do not believe in conspiracy theories. I don't like talking about them, but there's some evidence here, and you just mentioned it, that shows that why would, like you said, there wasn't much difference between the two products that they were allowing or disallowing. Why would they hold off on one product? Were they waiting for somebody else to maybe come out with one first? Did somebody maybe want theirs to come out first? And Mr. Gensler was backing that decision or that request. You know, I mean, again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything or trying to put any conspiracies out there, but why are these things happening the way they're happening? You know, follow the money, look at the breadcrumbs, look at what's going on over there. And you could almost see, and I mean, when I went to DC a year and a half ago, I was in the lobby houses. I was on K Street where the action happens. I know it doesn't happen in Congress. I know it doesn't happen there. It happens in the lobby houses on K Street. And I went to all the crypto folks and I was trying to find out what their agenda was, where they were, how we can help, how the Hexican community and all of our strength could come in and get involved and bring a voice to what it is where they were doing, or capital. Bull market was still okay. And what did I hear? No decentralized exchanges. We have to go after the decentralized exchanges. We have to set up rules for the centralized exchanges. We have to raise money for the centralized exchanges. This is where crypto is going. And not 2 months after I left, and they looked at me like I was crazy because I was telling them, no, that's absolutely opposite of what we should be doing. We should be backing the decentralized exchanges, the decentralized products, and the DeFi products, not all of these centralized bullshit products that you guys are talking about, which that's what they were talking about, all of the centralized products. And it wasn't 2 months after I got back from DC when the FTX thing just kind of all blew up, you know, and it was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Then come to find out, FTX, Sam himself, was pouring money into all of these campaigns on both sides of the aisle, hiding some of the money, distributing it through the networks of these dark money PACs that now can be had because of Citizens United. One of the things that we all should be talking about getting rid of is that goddamn thing. But because of that, and because all of that money was able to hide, they were able to push their agenda. And then when FTX blew up, they're all sitting there with egg on their face, including Mr. Guzzler. He's got just as much fault in all of this as all of they do. That's why when Sam went up for what do you call it? They were going to try him or get him for the political stuff, for the political money that he sent in. What happened there? He got acquitted of all those charges. All those charges. Why? Because there was somebody on the other side receiving money, and those people couldn't have their names and themselves drugged through the mud on that. And that's why they acquitted him on that. But what are they doing now? They're burying the kid in with the DOJ on criminal charges. So even though the distribution of the monies that he stole wasn't illegal because of the people it went to, by the way, the action of stealing the money is what he's going to get in trouble for. But giving it away to others who don't want to be known was okay. Nobody's talking about that.
I got a framing technique. I got a framing technique that you can use, Captain. If you don't want to call them conspiracies, I would say that there's people out there with lots of money and they have goals that are different from ours, and they want to get those goals done with as little trouble as possible. So while I don't put a whole lot of stock into calling things conspiracies or looking past anything that's like beyond my individual level of control, I think that, like, you know, it's undeniable that there's people out there that exist that want to do bad things, or, well, whether you want to call it bad or good, right? There's people out there that want to do things, and that might not align with what you or I want. It might not align with what someone else wants, but that's the technique that I use, like, for avoiding like the danger word of conspiracy theory. It's just like, oh yeah, there's probably people with a lot of money and a lot of power that want to do things that I might not like or that I might like, you know? Like, there's probably people who would say that Richard Hart, like, they would call the things that he's doing like a conspiracy. Whoever the hell is like off their rocker and just considering, you know, stuff from the opposite side of the aisle as us, right? They might just be as equally perturbed about his actions as we are about, like, you know, SBFs and Gary Genslers and the SECs and all that. So that's just the little thing that I use. But Tracker, it sounded like you had something there, bud. What was that?
Yeah. So to add to that, well, just a notion on the court case. It was interesting when the judge dismissed the jury when Sam Bankman-Fried took the stand. I mean, what was that about? And don't even get me started on Glenzel Maxwell's case and freaking everything else. I mean, come on, dude. It's so in your face now. It's not even hidden anymore, guys. And as far as why did they allow futures ETFs? Because that allows them to manipulate the markets. That allows them to manipulate everything. Futures markets allows them to do that. You can manipulate it because you can print all the freaking paper you want in the world and trade this stuff. And yet with the spot, you got to buy it off the exchange. It's going to drive the price up. So they're suppressing and slowing down the release of the spot ETFs to allow the, like I said, the institutions, all the main players to get their bags packed before they open up the channels. I'm telling you, they're going to load this thing up. They're going to then let it run, and it's going to suck in a lot of people into this thing. And then they're going to rug it, and they're going to get what they want, and they're going to get the regulation that they want because they want regulation. They're going to have people screaming for regulation like they always do. They create an issue to get the reaction they want, then they get the masses behind it, and then they can basically instill what they want to do. That's this. They've been doing this since man has been on this earth.
Yep, there's
that emotional reaction.
I think Tracker's entirely right. The underlying current with all this stuff is that does it make sense on the surface? Not 100%, and sometimes not even like maybe 50%. But I think that the single thread of truth that you can weave through everything is that a lot of this stuff is honestly just power games. It's trying to get the narrative on your side to back what you're trying to do. Yeah, there is going to be some cloak and dagger, absolutely, and misdirection. I don't know why, but DC is a swamp, and it gets that name for a reason. I spent a little time there myself as well, and you can just feel it. It's like the backroom deals is how things get done. And at the end of the day, we might be lying to each other's faces trying to get things done and hide the real motives. And I got to be honest, if you're in crypto and you're looking at the wins right now and you're kind of seeing what's coming, it definitely feels that way with all the ETFs, with all of the rule by litigation with the SEC, and just trying to go after people for any and everything. Like Gary Gensler is a very different SEC chairman because he's been trying to win through the power of the courts versus create regulation that will create guidelines for people to play a fair game within. One of the worst things that he's doing, honestly, is driving the crypto industry out of the United States. As an American, I believe that the United States is the best place on earth, hands down. I'll fight people on that one. And you trying to push this stuff elsewhere is a terrible idea. We can do it better here. This is the land of opportunity. And stop chasing people away when you really should be welcoming them in and learning to work with them instead of just trying to beat people over the head.
Well, the funny thing is you could actually have Gary have a complete argument with himself by taking old clips from when he was a professor at MIT with what now, and you could really just debate himself. Seriously,
Gary Gensler defeats Gary Gensler.
Exactly. You could absolutely put that together. I'm surprised I hasn't been put him in though. But go back to what you were saying, Captain, when you went there and you were asking like, why not DeFi? There's no money in DeFi.
No.
For these guys, they want control, so they have to have
no money they can
exchange.
suck out.
That, yes. And what's crazy is so, and look at central exchange. Exactly. That right there is exactly it. Because when you're on central exchanges, it's not on the blockchain anymore. It's all within their system. You can now move stuff around all day long, untrackable. So, and
you can charge, and they can charge handling fees, and they can be, charge licensing fees too. And that's where the money rolls.
Well, come on now. They're just trying to help the little guy because they know hard wallets and all that's just really challenging. It goes back to what I was saying about the technology is not as hard as people think. It's just scary because it's unknown. It's not being taught to these people.
Those 12 seed words are very hard to write down and put away somewhere.
Man, people being scared, people like not being in control of their emotions. Like we live in a different world. Yep. It's what we just keep coming back to it, boys. We just keep coming back to emotions. Just like teach everyone around you, guys in the audience. Teach everyone around you to like have a little bit of stoic control, have a little bit of reason and logic, and leave away the primal thinking and all that.
Hey, Captain, I got a question for you and everybody here actually. So we're talking about crypto, right? And it's decentralized. We can make money. What happens when you make money and you want to now take it out? I'm debating on this myself. So eventually I do want to move it into hard assets. I want to the things that are actually going to hold up in value because God knows nothing else is going to hold up. So I want to own things that people are going to need. Like, Rich Man Poor, what is it? The gentleman who does the genius.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki. Thank you very much. I saw him talking about it. Of course, he's done so many things. It's ridiculous, but he's even getting into cattle. and livestock, and he's getting into everything. So hard assets actually can go a long way in a lot of different areas. Everybody always brings up real estate, which I get it. But I was just curious, are there any other things that you're looking at for hard assets or things that you can prepare for, say, family? And, once crypto gets to a certain point, you're going to have to move some of the stuff around to, I mean, honestly, because what happens if, let's just say, I mean, here's the conspiracy in me or the sinister side of me. Let's say they knock out the internet for a little while in order to get everybody KYC'd in to come back on the internet. Let's just say that's a crazy conspiracy, I'm sure, but let's just say that could happen. So what happens if the internet goes away? What do we do for trying to extract some value into other hard assets?
Yeah, I mean, the onboarding and offboarding of our fiat trash to crypto has been the biggest choke point, and our biggest Achilles heel in all of our space. Despite the rug pulls and the scams and the promises and all that other stuff, nothing is more detrimental to us moving forward as a monetary system than the on-ramp and off-ramp. Now, the solution, and of course, what the Bitcoiners tried to do in the early days was get people to take Bitcoin. But we know that's just as hard as saying, okay, well, let's get every, liquor store in the nation to take, gold dust for our cigarette packs. Right. I mean, that's a difficult as it is, and so the on-ramping and off-ramping of our crypto into fiat is important. And of course, they're trying to choke that out with what are these money exchange licenses that have to be had, through the banks and whatnot. Banks are even starting to choke point some of us and, hey, flagging transactions and watching your crypto move in and out. And I've done a lot of that. I've moved crypto in and out of the system, and have had my account flagged and have had money stuck just recently with the True USD issue with their Prime Trust partner that went belly up in the middle of a transaction I had sent across. So that there is our biggest problem. I think that's our biggest hurdle. I think that with what Richard has created, we have true DeFi. The genie's out of the bottle, and now we've got a L1 that we could build on. We can bring Web3 to fruition. We can go into the 21st century with the internet because of that. I'm not 100% on the DEX situation as far as PulseX goes. I'm not going to call it like the end all be all. I think that it's an unfinished product and it's there and it'll get better and whatever. But we have true DeFi now. So, I guess I've kind of missed the point of your question, but, it's all here and available for us now. Now it's what do we do with it and how do we make these things better? How do we start to influence legislation? Because I think if we win this time, if we do get DeFi, then we've got to be better as citizens in this country anyway. I'm not speaking for the whole world, guys, but in this country here, we've got to better our political situation. We've got to look, when I sit down with human beings, red, blue, whatever nationality, man, woman, you name it, we all agree on about 90% of the shit. We want freedom. We want happiness. We want, to be able to pursue happiness for our families and our neighbors. We want all these things. We don't want to suppress anybody else or try and hurt anybody else. And for the most part, people are inherently good and we agree on about 90% of our shit. About 10% of our shit, dogmas, religious crap, whatever, we don't agree upon, whatever. I like the Raiders, you like the Dolphins, whatever, that kind of shit. It doesn't matter. It's the real stuff that matters. And if we don't get to influence how our government operates, then we're all going to still keep sitting around wishing it was gone. And that's the problem I see right now, is that we wish it was gone. Like the solution to our woes in this country we all wish that somebody would come in and just destroy our own government. Like, let's elect somebody as ridiculous as possible so that they can just screw this thing up so bad that it just goes away. And then we're all left to just be tribalists and live in anarchy, and I think that's the wrong direction. And that's not really where we want to go. I think that we as a people need to come together and start to figure out what the problems are, Citizens United, get money out of politics and get our voices into politics, one man, one vote, all that stuff again, and try and fix our democracy here, our little experiment that we have in this country, and try and make it better, because they've fucked it up. They've taken it away from us and given it to the powers that be, given it to the moneyed interests, given it to the industrial complexes, the military, the medical, the electrical, the power, all of these complexes that now exist over the top of, that reign over all of us, that have created this little thing, Citizens United, to take their money and turn it into their power so that all of us can get poorer and they can all get richer and they can push the middle guy down. So if we don't all come together and figure out how to use our power to get our vote back, our voice back, then we're just going to keep living in this cycle of just memeing our own situation over and over and not ever getting anything done, and just perpetually screwing ourselves over. And that's what we're doing right now. They're laughing at us. They're like, we've got everything we wanted. We get to use our money to make you guys fight each other so that you can fight for shit guy number 1 or shit guy number 2. And in the back rooms, we're all fucking making out like bandits. All while you, Mr. RG, your production value has gone up so much over the last 20 years. Thank you, sir, for working so hard and supplying us with your spine to create all this value out here in the world. The whole world's production has gone through the roof. We have hockey sticked as far as our productivity goes as human beings. And we're all more broke, more destitute, more anxious than in any time ever in history because of what they've done to us. So we've got to figure out how to take our power back properly without creating all of this FUD within our own system, you know?
Absolutely.
Well,
real quick for the,
go ahead, Zenith.
Yeah, I just want to clarify this for the layman's that might not understand what the, what was the name of the court decision we were talking about?
Oh, Citizens United.
Citizens United. The
I
brief
talk about it
synopsis,
often here.
It's a very important court case. Part of basically the base synopsis for it is that there was a suit to determine whether or not super PACs could get unlimited funds and how we treat them. And the end goal, or the end result, excuse me, rather, was that, yeah, super PACs are people and money is speech. Therefore, these individuals are unlimited in what they do as long as they don't have direct association with their own candidates.
And anonymous.
Anonymous. What that did is that it essentially, it opened up the shadow games for all this like subverse and unspoken stuff and a lot of shady under the table stuff, which, I mean, as fans of a blockchain, we'd all like, we might not entirely disagree with like, yeah, you got to spend money to run a campaign, but at the same time, we'd much rather have it over the table and on a public visible ledger so that we know what's going on, so that you don't feel conned, so that you don't feel like you're having something run on you. And Citizens United is a major court case, and I hope people understand what it is. And then additionally, unfortunately, the path forward to get something like that overturned, it's rough, because someone else either has to bring a case or the Supreme Court is going to have to take it upon themselves to go review it again. So,
or we have to have a constitutional amendment, and that means all 50 states have to ratify it, and that's damn near impossible.
It relies on politicians actually doing something and sticking their necks out a bit. Unfortunately, I think that's been one of the downfalls of the 21st century when it comes to American legislation, is that the way that I see us going forward, like you were talking about, we don't want to destroy the country. We just need to get back to good fundamentals and understand what our principles are and how we can return to them and stick to them. There's two things, in my opinion, that would have to happen. First off, we need to end the rule of federal regulation as decree of law in the United States. That's got to go, because that is unelected bureaucrats that sit around forever. It's middle managers with power. And it's Congress not doing their due diligence to actually specifically say what they mean, and they just leave it to unelected officials to interpret it and do what they want with it. Secondly, good old federalism. The answer is focus local. Focus on what you can control. You gotta loosen up the rules at the top
100%.
and allow people to have stricter rules at the bottom, so that way we can all live together. We have a very common goal at the very top. We can all point to that singular goal as the United States, but then again, choosing where you live is going to be the differentiating factor. It's, you got to let California be California, let Texas be Texas, and let Florida be Florida. It's a novel idea. I think some guys had a good idea about 250 years ago almost. Yeah, they had some good stuff back then.
Well, yeah, and they took it from the Indians. Read about that history. That's a whole nother can of worms. But the problem here and what they found out when they did put the Citizens United together was that in today's day and age, 99% of the candidates that raise the most money win the election. And that's local, federal, local. They've realized that. So the more money they shove into these campaigns, they know how to select their winner. And something else you said when you were talking about legislation, the lobby house, the reason I went to K Street and I didn't go try and call my congressman and go sit in his office and talk to him about blockchain and yada, 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 is because what I know is that the way since Citizens United and before, the lobby shops write the laws. So whatever law that they want that's going to benefit their industrial complex is written by the lobbyists, not by the congressmen, not by your representatives. They don't put these laws together. The lobby shops write them and they slap them on their congressperson's desk and say, guess what, buddy? Here's the law you need to get passed. And if that legislator says, oh, there's no way I can do this to my constituents, you guys are, taking tax benefits for yourselves and screwing the regular guy. Well, Mr. Legislator, we are the one that put all the money into your campaign and got you elected. Guess what we're going to do next season if you don't get this law passed? We're going to do something called primary you. We're going to bring somebody up in your district with your same badge, red or blue, whatever it may be, and we're going to pour money into their coffers, and we're going to kick you out and put our guy in. And most of these elected officials that are in there now are people that have been replaced from other people that they wanted out of there. And that's how they push this legislation. Our legislation is not written by our Congress people. Our legislation is written by the lobby shops and given to the Congress people to get signed over. That's how this country works. And people need to understand that that's where you're getting your laws from. You're not getting your laws from some government fucking clandestine group of individuals that are trying to figure out what you've got in your underwear drawer. That's not what's happening. Industrial complexes are stuffing money into legislation that is going to be favorable towards them and make you work harder and produce more so that they can be more comfortable. That's exactly what's going on. That's what's happened here. And that's what we live under. And until we figure that out and figure out a way to fix that and end Citizens United, that's our lot in life. And you can sit there and scream and cry and eat shit and bark at the moon all day long. You're still going to have the same thing because you ain't going to fight those powers that be because they got more money than you. And that money is speech.
Yeah. I like to add to that. So, I mean, personally, the things that people need to do, and that's the one thing you nailed on, was come together. They love dividing and conquering. I mean, that's been in the blueprints for a long time, So the first thing is people need to stop listening to a lot of the garbage that's on the media. Unfortunately, 96% of the media is controlled by about 6 corporations, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Most people don't understand that. They don't realize it. When I say all media, I'm talking movies, radio, television, magazines, you name it, whole
everything.
damn thing. Six. It used to be like 50 something in the 60s. We're down to 6. Okay. So you only get 6 corporations. I think it's like American Entertainment. You've got Sony, Disney. There's a couple other ones I'm leaving out here that are on there, but basically you get the gist. There's 6 of them. That's it. 6. So, and no matter where you're digesting your information from, the narrative is being controlled. So that's a fact. People need to stop being divided and being divided because we're all equal in what we're trying to do. People need to wake up and know what the actual problem is. I ain't going to drop all the bombs here because I ain't trying to get your channel shut down, to happen. But it starts going back to basically most of your alphabet agencies that have been created since the 1920s are probably the root of the problem right there. there was the last president that tried to go up against this. Well, we know what happened to him, and that didn't end very well, and that happened in the 1960s. So you can put the two together, what happened there. So unfortunately, when people say conspiracy and all this other stuff, unfortunately, a lot of stuff is actually true. You just got to look at it, and some people try to spin it, but it's actual fact what's happening here. The other thing that you're talking about with the legislator, and the way that these PACs are, it's clear corruption right in front of you. They call it they call it campaigning. I call it basically bribery. That's what I call it. It's exactly what it is. You can put any term you want to put on the damn thing. So how about, I don't know, let's get an organization spun up that starts tracking down politicians and agencies for treason. How about that? Let's start there. And then we can start moving down that thing. I'm saying we've gotten to the point in this country. I don't know if it's gotten to a point where you can turn this thing around. You know what I mean? And I hate to say it, and I'm certainly not advocating for it in any means for that matter. But what I'm going to say is United States is the longest country, I believe, that's gone without a revolution in the entire world. I don't know if that's true. I think it's somewhere around that ballpark. And I'm not saying that that's what I want by any means. But, man, they are certainly doing everything they can to divide this country down the middle. And they've done just about that right.
And a revolution can look like a lot of different things.
Down the middle. But
oh, sorry.
I don't know what we can do because unfortunately all the power is centralized. Now, what you can do, like what Zenith said, I'm a big believer of this, and I'm certainly there, and I got a buddy of mine who's certainly there. We try to go to every city meeting, and you can sit into that stuff. And local government is where you take the change. That's where you can inform people. You need to understand that your sheriff is probably the most important person that you can elect at your local area is your sheriff, because they decide whether or not they're going to enforce those rules or not. You need to start branching up on how the government works at local, fix it locally. I love going to these campaigns in these areas because you'll have these guys come in here talking about, like, for example, tap water. And the guys, well, we're following the federal guidelines. Well, maybe your fucking federal guidelines aren't good enough. Maybe they're horrible for you. Okay. If anybody looked up at half the stuff that's in your tap water, man, that's right there tells you there's something wrong. Your food, your water, everything is fucked. All right. I don't know how to put it. You almost got to revert back to being a farmer now and growing and doing your own stuff if you actually give a shit about taking care of yourself. It's how fucked up it's gotten. Now, the other thing about it is, so that's your local government. You need to help get that in place. The other is support your local businesses. Stop buying your shit from corporations, man. Stop giving your money to corporations. Stop banking with the banks that are the root of the problem. Start putting your money into other local banks that you actually give a shit, or people that actually you give a damn about. Support your local entities, support your neighborhood, support your communities, and stop sending your money out to all these big box houses and sending all your money everywhere. I mean, it sounds so simplistic, but it really is that. And you know what? If shit were to hit this fan in the country, you know which places are going to be the best and most suited for it? Are the small little towns where everybody knows each other and they're all a tight community and they got everything there. They're going to be the best well suited because they all know how to do everything. So I guess, I mean, I don't have the answers for it all, but I know that certainly is a start.
I think, you know, that a revolution is the people taking their power back from the oppressive government. You know, that is basically the definition of a revolution. I think that what we need to take the power back on is our finance, is our money. The control of our money has been the biggest problem that I think that we faced. The government doing what they've done with it. Now, I don't 100% disagree with what they've with what they've tried to do to mitigate the situation at hand, the depression that was coming. I think they've prolonged it. I think they pushed it out. I mean, let's face it. What was supposed to be a Great Depression, the money printing changed it. We've got homeless people with freaking cell phones. In the Great Depression, you had people that had to sell their kids, and husbands and wives had to split up in order to survive because they couldn't feed each other. They had to live on their own and feed oneself. The Great Depression was a different situation than what we're seeing today. This is a soft depression because of what they've done. Now, is that prolonging the agony and making it worse in the end? Who knows? That's the scary part. But I think that we've got to get control of our finance, and crypto and having programmable inflation is probably the only way I see to fix it. And that's why I like HEX so much. That's why I have loved HEX so much, because of the programmed inflation model that blows the doors off of everything that's out there. And I'd like to see something like that get interjected into the monetary system. Now, is that something that's going to happen right away? No, that's something that's going to take a long time to see adoption. Crypto is going to take a long time to see adoption. We're getting there, though. Who knows how fast it can happen in this this hyper speed world that we live in today. But no, I agree with you that there's something boiling here, and a revolution can look like a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily mean that we all need to pick up arms against our nation, because that's not what's going on here. There are select individuals, a small percentage of people on top of this have created this situation most of us live in. And I'm talking, 90-something% of us live, eat, breathe, survive in the situation that we all don't. And most of us don't understand. Like, there's people in the government that are working in the government today that can't explain to you what has happened with Citizens United. They don't understand what is even going on within their own system.
Hey, Captain, I think you froze up a little bit. I think you kind of started getting computerized there a little bit.
Yeah,
they're probably gatekeeping me.
They don't like what you're talking about.
Hold on, Captain. I think you're a conspiracy there.
Tell you what, we'll give you a quick sec to recover. I will say one of my personal favorite things about Hex is it's one of the unsung, or one of the lesser known things about it is that Hex staking actually teaches good principles and forces people to put it into practice, which is that you have to delay gratification, you have to have some skin in the game, and you have to hold it the entire time. You can't just make a stake and pull it out anytime you want. You got to make a commitment and see it through. Granted, you might make a bad one, but you can emergency unstake potentially halfway through. But at the end of the day, it's teaching you to think long term, have something to look forward to, and actually game plan. It forces people to get out of the emotions and into the long term thinking to actually come up with something and look towards the future. All right, are we back?
I don't know.
You're moving around now. You look good.
Down better.
Am I back?
You're not.
I don't know what happened.
You're back, man.
So
Welcome back from the
It looks
Matrix.
like I am. It looks like your connection. Why in the hell am I on Wi-Fi? I'm freaking on a this is ridiculous. I don't know why my computer switched over to Wi-Fi, but it did. Let's see.
Our
Talking bad about the
alphabet
banking
guys
cartels.
were getting upset.
But
Yeah,
Captain,
probably
so the thing that bothers me about all this is, we had a president that was bringing the entire nation together in the 1960s, and everybody brought it together. Nobody really likes to talk about it, but it was fact. You had the civil rights movement. Everybody was coming together. Everybody was coming together, and there was a lot of changes that he was about to put into place. Lots of changes, and he basically he made enemies with just about all the major players, and that's the last president that really butted up against this. Like you said, taking down, we need to reevaluate the entire financial system. I mean, Andrew Jackson,
Woodrow
the
Wilson.
other president. Well, don't even start with that guy. that piece of shit. So I'm saying the other guys had been fighting the bankers all the time, and then he basically opened the gates to the bankers and others before. But once they opened it up, they knew what was going to happen, and now that's the case. And the BIS controls 98% of the world GDP. 98%. They don't own the other 2%. That's just for shits and giggles for them to have, side bets like they did in trading places with Eddie Murphy and them. They're just doing side bets with that money there to see who can kill each other off on that 2%. So what I'm saying is the Federal Reserve, people don't realize it's an extension of the BIS. It's just a charter. It's an extension of that. So the problem is this thing is so massive and everything, and we got to start somewhere. So I hear you, man. And the fact, kudos to you going to DC and actually trying to talk to people. I mean, that's very impressive, man. Very impressive.
It's doing the work.
I mean, you're going into the
lion's den.
Yeah, you really are, man.
Thieves and liars.
But no matter what, when I sit down with people, I'm sitting down with people, and some of them may be jaded, maybe under the influence of another power. But I want to see that. I want to know what I'm dealing with. I want to see who these people are. Like I did with Richard. I come from the streets. I grew up in Inglewood, and I had to learn how to survive in the streets and read people. That was what I did. You know, I'm not a genius. I'm not a crypto expert, but I know fucking people, man. And when I sit down with a human being and we talk heart to heart, eye to eye, I can see if they're bullshitting me. I can see if they're real. I can see if they're a real human being, you know? And when I was doing that with those folks, I can see that there were real people in there. They were just misguided. People had told them the wrong things. They had been influenced by the wrong shiny object, you know, and usually it's money, and usually it's position for them, and you can see it, you can read it, you can feel it, and but inherently, people are mostly good, and they don't mean to hurt others. They just usually end up doing other people's bidding to further themselves, and it ends up screwing a lot more people than they realize that they were screwing. And that's just where we are today, you know. And if more people start to recognize that and understand that, see what you're talking about back in the 60s, there was a different tone, man. There was something people were wanting to do good. There was leadership out there, and they fucking destroyed all those leaders. There was a year there, I think 63 to 65, that they just fucking blew the heads off of every fucking good leader that was out there. They were
Dr.
just
King,
cutting them
Malcolm
down.
X, JFK.
Yeah, and those were real
on and
people
on.
that were trying to do things, you know, for humanity. And then right there, when we got onto the fiat system, that's after they got rid of those folks, and the fiat system came with Mr. Nixon, brought that shit in for us. Everything changed, and we've been changing ever since. And the hearts of the people, the hearts of leadership has gone away. And all that stuff, the people that wanted to change the world, make it a better place, were shelved and put on the back burner. And I haven't seen that type of thing. I grew up with a man, my grandfather basically was raising me, and I grew up with a man that grew up in the Depression. He campaigned for Kennedy. He was a United Auto Worker Union guy for 45 years when the unions were necessary and needed, and it was helping people. And so I grew up, you know, in that kind of a world, and saw that, and actually was, you know, it touched me. There was pictures of Kennedy and Martin Luther King in the house and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I was taught that those people were murdered and killed, and I didn't understand it. And then as I grow up and I watch this world today and what it's turned into, and the surface or the, what would you call it? The thin veil of leadership that we have today, the no substance people that we have today, you know, they were nothing like what my grandfather was and the people that he admired. And I just see the leadership in this country just so weak and thinly veiled. It's just pathetic. And I'm wondering, where is it at? And is it because of the system we have that we don't have those leaders anymore that care, that deeply, truly fucking care and are servants to this country? You know, you just don't see it anymore.
Well, it's interesting too, because in the 60s, a lot of things changed after certain things happened. I mean, that's when the pharmaceutical companies started, you know, getting their bags pumped again.
Yeah.
That's when they started producing a lot of vegetable oil into a lot of foods at that point. I mean, it's basically anything that was good for you kind of went out the window at that point. But I think this is what I believe. I believe that people will go in there. I think a lot of them will try to have good intentions and they try to get in there. But once they get to a certain level, I don't know if it's intentional or not or what happens, but I think there is stuff that's held over on their shoulders that they are not allowed to act freely anymore. And they basically are being controlled at this point, and they don't have a say, like you just said. It's real simple. Either do what we tell you to do or disappear. And disappear can mean a lot of different things. I mean, there's a lot of evidence to that. I mean, you know, people, you know, accidentally shooting themselves twice in the back of the head type things, you know, things like that. You know, I mean, it's sick, but it's true. It's just not talked about or seen on mainstream. So when you talk to people about this stuff, they look at you like you're crazy. Well, it's happening. It's just not being talked about because, once again, the narratives are being controlled. So, I mean, it's tough because everything that's in there. I mean, the executive branch has way too much power. I'm sorry, executive orders left and right. I mean, what the hell's going on with that? I mean, what in the hell, man? And then, man, and then, like you said, the alphabet agencies are basically just pushing people around at will. It doesn't matter if it's law. It doesn't matter if it doesn't hold up. They'll just bankrupt you in court, basically.
Yeah.
And it's either get along or we're just going to ruin your lives. And unfortunately, that's the where we've been going. It's sick. It's sick. It's absolutely sick how bad things have gotten. And I think people are starting to hit the breaking points. And I don't know, man. I don't think people are going to be able to handle it. Like, I think what they're going to do is that I think there's a notion out there. I feel like it's going to happen. I think there's going to be a shitload of printing coming, like a massive amount of money coming. It's going to be a freight train like you've never seen money. And then you're going to have the worst freaking drop. And personally, I think the sinister side of me is I think it's all intentional. They want to truly do that because I think when it comes down to it, I think Western civilization, they want to destroy it. And who they are, who knows? I'm not going to get into all that. But what I'm saying is I think they want to destroy Western civilization.
Cracker's not wrong.
I was going to say, if you guys know that you're about to go to jail, just make sure you set up a hex stake before you go. So that way you can at least cash in on those days, get some value out of it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
I'm gonna live with a positive outlook because I was a Marine and I stood on the wall for the country. And I believe I believed in what I was doing. Yeah. And I just have hope and faith that things are going to get better and that we can pull out of this, that the better minds and the better hearts will prevail eventually. I know that we've been through a lot of shit for a lot of years. I've seen it my whole life go from, the greatest generation, I was raised by hippies and now, I lived my whole life watching this world decline, watching the American dream disappear, watching things get nothing but worse for my, you're supposed to, as a father, bring kids into the world and make a better place for them. I have no control over making a better place, no matter how hard I tried to provide or how hard I tried to work. It was just getting harder and harder for me to hand something down to my kids that was better, and that's a disparaging place to come from, raising children in these last few decades and going, because all you want is better for them. You want things to be better. You work hard to provide for them so that their lives can be better. And all you see is the world crumbling around them as you're working harder and harder and harder. And there's no reason for it other than other people's greed are taking from me and my kids. And that's the hardest thing to swallow. That is the hardest thing to deal with in this. And I want solutions, man. I want to change this. I want to fix this. What is it? We've been talking, we've had this internet thing now for 20, 25, 30 years. What are we doing with it? Are we all talking together? Or are we fucking memeing each other? Are we coming together and making strength? Are we bringing the people together and changing things? Or is it cat pictures and freaking TikTok dances?
Evolved. It's cat NFTs now. So
what are we doing with this thing, man? I want to get that word out. I want people to make the world better before I go, because my time is limited on this earth, and my kids aren't. They've got some more time to go, and I want it to be better before I go. And hopefully, this thing that we're doing here, this crypto thing that we're doing, I think it's got a good chance of making some big changes. But not if we're all bickering and fighting and memeing each other all the time.
That's true.
I'll add to that. I hear you. And that hits home to me too. I will say this. I'm certainly not living in fear. The hell with that. I'm going to live my life and I'm going to enjoy my life. Yeah. If that means that there's repercussions, then there's repercussions. But I think it's important to get this information out to everybody, whether it's crypto technology or how the real world works, and try to enlighten people a little bit to just open your eyes and pay attention. The other piece of that is, what baffles me is how many people are just on TikTok and social media. You have the entire world of knowledge at your fingertips, and you can learn anything you want to learn about anything in this world. That's what that's why I'm on the phone all the time doing, just learning and trying to research and understand things. I don't understand how people can just sit there. I get it, man. Occasionally you want some just, brain candy just to kind of go numb. You know, I get it. I get that. But it amazes me how many people are just on this technology and that's all they're doing.
I could sum it up for you pretty easy, Tracker. It's that pretty much everyone just wants to feel good pretty much all of the time. Most people want to feel good right now instead of feel good later, right? So most people will eat that fatty, greasy, you know, cheeseburger with lots of bread and sugar, as opposed to like a healthy steak with some salad and like no sugars, no nothing, right? So like everyone just wants to feel good all the time. This is one of the things that Alex Hormozy talks about. Like everyone pretty much just always wants to feel good. And most people take the easiest pathway to get to that point. You know, whether you're going to sit on the couch and get fat or you're going to go to the gym and work out, both people are trying to feel good. Just one has a long time horizon, one has a short time horizon. And
Delayed
whichever, like,
gratification.
yeah, they're trading the one for the other.
Question there. It's are you trying to feel fulfilled or are you trying to feel sedated?
Each person has their own
One of
way.
these is harder than the other.
Happy.
Yeah,
Defined by
it's time horizon, you know. It's either going to happen right now or it's going to happen, you know, years in the future, right? You either delay the gratification for later and it's like more consistent and longer lived, or you get the gratification right now and, you know, you die from your mistakes early or something like that. It's you know, it's like shorting and longing, man. It's all time horizon. It's all emotion. Like everything is all tied together, bro.
It is.
It's more like trading or going for that Quattro Cinco steak.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
the Fibonacci. It's the golden ratio. It's all the same. There's nothing new under the sun, guys. This is all the
Nothing new
same.
under the
Oh,
sun.
man.
Hey, and with that, man, it has been a great time chatting with you guys. I had a
Keep
really
going.
good time. You guys are freaking down, intelligent, understandable. I like you guys. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm glad you're on our team. Any last things you guys want to say before I shut the stream down?
I got a quick shout out for the channel. So if you don't mind me plugging,
Yeah, go ahead,
RG3.
plug the channel. We've
All right,
got
sweet.
your
So the
links in
first
the
thing-
bio too.
Okay, so for those of you who can't read or who are blind or anything, who are watching this YouTube by Braille or whatever, if you just want to type in bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable, that is the quick bit.ly link to our Telegram. So come join the. Ow, shit! Whoa, I just got a cramp out of nowhere. Apologies. Zenith, why don't you take over, man? I gotta mute.
All right, we're part of Will's fighting the part that Uncle Sam took from him. Yeah, you can join our Telegram through the link down below or through the link that Will talked about. The Telegram chat is where you're going to find all of us. We're in there pretty active. I even post some of my half-baked statistical analysis for criticism and comment. So if you want that, check it out. As far as what's going on with all of us, we do our regular show every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have guest streams on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And bi-weekly, we do book club at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Fridays. So if you want to check that out, we have that going on. Next book club is Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. That is my baby, so I will absolutely plug it. But at the same time, rub the captain's shoulders a little bit, I believe the Pulse Chain Tour is coming to Arizona on the 18th, which is this Saturday. Is that right?
Yes, this Saturday we are going to be in Arizona, and it'll be our final meetup before the cruise, going out of LA, heading down to Cabo for a couple of days, and then cruising back up the coast for the final event of the tour. And then we're going to see what's going to happen next year, maybe a global tour.
Beautiful. I will actually be making the drive out to Arizona, so I will see you this weekend, hopefully.
Good.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Tracker, after you plug, I got something else. So don't end it, RG3 till. Go ahead, Tracker. Do your thing.
I was just saying, I'm very active in our chats, always trying to help out where I can with the community, and try to spread information as much as I can. And I'll be with Jesse from Earn Protocol doing a deep dive till Wednesday night, and we'll have that out. Once again, like we plug all of our stuff, we just try to bring it and knowledge to everybody and try to empower them so they can make the proper judgments and understand, take away basically look behind the curtains to understand how everything actually works and not just be mystified by this magic that's happening on the blockchain. It's not as complicated as people think. They just need to have it a little dumbed down and get rid of some of the stupid terminology that developers like to use. That's pretty much the gist of it. With that being said, Captain, it was a pleasure being on the show. I do truly appreciate this. And hey, hats off to you and all the effort you've been doing, and keep up the fight. And I'd love to do this again sometime in the future with you.
We will definitely have to. Yes.
All right. Will, you got it, man.
Will, you got something else?
Yes. So for those of you who didn't catch the stream that we had on the Degen Roundtable with a Wild SJ, a project that I'm undertaking is I'm trying to build some sort of vehicle, whether it's a Telegram chat room or an internet, like a website thing, but I want to create a product that will allow Hexicans to essentially meet each other. It's more or less just like right now it's just, I have an Excel document that basically just has, like, names of people, where you can reach them, whether it's Telegram, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you want to put your phone number in there, go for it. But this is a publicly editable document, so anyone can go in there and change anything. But if you guys are Hexicans and you want to meet up with other Hexicans, and it also describes like the region of the world that you're located in, whether it's like the United States or like Mexico or like specific states or even specific cities for that matter, right? Anyone can edit this document. So if you're a Hexican, you want to meet up with other Hexicans, or you're open to other Hexicans like reaching out to you on social media or whatever, put in as much information as you're comfortable with. Don't overdox yourself or don't do anything, that you don't want to do. But I want to build this resource so that way people can do the same sort of thing that RG3 has put together with this pulse chain tour, right? Where people go around the country and meet each other. So the link for that is bit.ly/hex_meetup_template, and I'll send that over to SJ in the production channel. But again, that's hex_meetup_template, right? And it's just a normal bit.ly link. That'll take you over to the Excel document. It's just a Google Sheets, nothing crazy. But yeah, that's something that I want to help. Is I want to help Hexicans get together and meet up with each other. And I'll probably end up making some sort of Telegram or something like that. But I'm a big data guy. I like collecting data and collecting information and helping people use this information to help each other do all sorts of fucking things. So if you guys want me to put your information in the Excel spreadsheet, then just hit me up. My links are in the description below, and that's all I got.
Right on. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Hang out for a second in the green room. I'm going to end this. Appreciate you all for coming. Great conversation. Like I said, glad to have you guys on the team. You guys are awesome. All right, everybody. We will see you guys later on during the week. Not sure what's going to happen for effing Hangout again, because this is going to be the last trip, and may or may not be able to stream. I think we're going to be able to stream. The SJ, I think, is going to have it set up out in Arizona. All right, everybody, have a good one. We'll catch you on the next one. Oh, and here's the new outro, intro, everything, Tro. Why is Hex better than Bitcoin? Well, first of all, it's the fundamentals of the code. The fundamentals of code are better than Bitcoin's fundamentals. The inflation model is better than Bitcoin's inflation model. The staking feature is better than a mining feature. It's new tech versus old tech. It's decentralized versus centralized. Yes, all of those things. Hex is better.